it's hot in South Georgia.
Hot?
It's that time of the year where it's hot. And I want you to look here. I cut this much okra this morning about daylight.
One row.
One row, about 30 feet long. And I want you to look at there. Ain't that a big old fine? Now, I got a couple of stragglers of red burgundy in there, and you can see there and see there. But let me tell you something. And I like the red burgundy. We've talked about it. It's perfect size for pickling. But that jambalaya right there, I cut as many as 5 pods off one plant per time.
What's called jumbo right there.
Yes, sir. But that's the makingest okra I have ever seen.
You got a little bit of fancy and choice in there. A lot of jumbo.
Yep.
Yeah, it ain't nothing to get from, and I cut mine pretty regular, and I got mine pruned at the bottom. It ain't nothing for me to get 3 pods at one time.
Oh yeah, 3, 4, and as many as 5, maybe 6 every now and then. 1 pod at one harvest.
One plant.
One plant at one harvest.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's a lot of okra.
Yep.
A lot of okra there. That's gonna be. You ought to pickle you some of that.
I may do that. I got Andy going to come get him a mess of it, and I'm going to keep
Again?
this. Yeah, he loves him. And Wesley. Him and Wesley love him some okra.
They don't know how to grow it?
They don't know how to grow it.
We'll say hey to everybody.
All right.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Row by Row Garden Show. Good to have you with us tonight. I'm Travis.
And I'm Greg.
We got a really good show planned. We're going to be talking about a little thing called occultation later on tonight.
That's a big word for me.
Big word, and we'll have to talk about what all that means. Right now, we just talk about what we got going on in the garden, and I brought you a little surprise. I know how much you like these things, and I picked those this morning. They ought to be good, just right.
Now, this is what I call brown turkey fig right here. It is
turkey
fig season in South Georgia.
Them good? Now, you don't eat the whole thing.
No, I just eat the innards out of it.
But you can eat the outside.
You can, but I always just on kind of bugs. I just eat the inside.
Okay.
I ain't real fond of eating bugs, so we'll eat one every now and then. I've ate a couple last week, but I try not to. But I found me a tree the other day, and I sat there and got gorged myself out on them. I mean,
whereabouts?
Norman Park. Up there, I found me a tree full. I pulled over on the side of the road and eased on up there and got me a belly full of them.
Because you don't have your big brown turkey tree anymore.
Nope, but I got some coming on.
This has been one of the best years for figs for me.
What I have found is they're a lot sweeter this year. Now I'm attributing that to we had a dry spring.
Yeah,
and they're not splitting as bad.
So what's weird is I had a sorry year on blackberries and blueberries because I don't water. None of my fruit stuff I really don't water. I probably should, but I don't. Sorry year on the berries, but figs has been just a bumper crop this year, and I've been picking mine about every other day. Now my tree's pretty tall. It's one of the biggest that you'll see around this parts, and I don't get on no ladder to pick figs. I get what I can reach. I put my picking bucket on. I get what I can reach, and I let the crows have the rest of them. It just ain't worth. There's plenty of them to go around.
We normally have enough, yep.
And I've got some of them LSU figs,
purples,
that you propagated growing. I got a gold, a purple, and we got one we bought from a fellow on Facebook, a Mediterranean fig called Black Malta. Got some of those growing. So hopefully.
And one thing I have found out, folks, and I thought I knew a lot about figs. It takes 3 years for a fig tree to really take root and get going good. That first year, mine grew pretty well, and I was all excited. This year's been kind of a standstill thing where they just getting established good. And the old timer told me the other day it takes 3 years, and that third year it's going to start going.
Boom.
Boom. So I'm ready for the third year.
Now, I thought yours were making a little bit.
They are making fuse, but it ain't grown near as much as what it did last year in proportion to what it did last year to this year. So
in your third year,
the trick.
Yep. Okay. What else we got going on? We have got had our 2-minute tip this week. We was talking about patty pan squash,
and I thought that was a real good video, by the way.
You said it struck a craving on you, so I brought you some. And showed you how to see that one, the pickle worms they got in.
I'm gonna cut him out, yeah.
But these things are some good, and a lot of people don't grow them because they don't know what to do with them, or some people grow them and they don't eat them because they don't know what to do with them. But they're pretty easy.
And, we had a fella come in the other day that had them. I don't think he was here, and he talked about how big he let them get. I said, no, don't let them get that big. As soon as that bloom falls off, you need to harvest them. That's the ideal eating size right there.
Yeah, I'll pick them smaller than this even too, but you don't want to let them get.
No.
That
They get
big.
puffy inside.
Yeah, kind of pithy. Seeds get big.
Puffy, well, it's all the same.
Yeah, that right there is just perfect eating size.
Market more?
Nope, those are stone walls.
Stone walls.
So I got to do a video on my cucumbers, another video on my cucumbers and my Hortonova trellis. That's the prettiest cucumbers I've ever had. They just climb all over that trellis, got it covered, falling over the tops of it. Now I do got a little problem. You know, Uncle Frank's got all them pine trees behind there, and there's some big old rats running around in there. I see them sneak out the garden, and I've shot a couple of them. And if you want to do something fun, get your 12 gauge and go rat hunting. But they about this big around, and the low line cucumbers, they've been getting after them. Now they can't get the taller ones, so I lose a few on the low end, but I got that one there was up high. And
well, now what do you recognize about this cucumber here that you don't see with a lot of other cucumbers? It doesn't have what we call a yellow belly.
Right.
The consumer nowadays in the commercial market has demanded that they didn't have a yellow belly cucumber, and that yellow belly comes from growing on the ground. So a lot of the big commercial guys now are growing these cucumber on trellises to get away from that yellow belly.
And also probably grow more because they grow on
They
vertically.
grow more, but the yellow belly is a big thing with the consumer, and I never did realize that till I had one of them explain that to me. So, no yellow belly is on these.
That's a pretty one right there.
Yep.
That one wouldn't be a coal at all.
Nope.
And then the last thing I want to mention before we get into occultation, if you've been watching our last few videos, you might have noticed we've got some different color headwear.
You sure do, don't you?
And so we got some different color hats. I want to show everybody. So we got the charcoal, which is the one you got. This is what it looks like when you hadn't sweated on it.
It fades really well.
So that's the charcoal. That's the original one we have. Then we've got the red here, which is what I'm sporting. I've been a big fan of that lately. And then this one here, we've got the camo, which is the nice ones there. So they're all on the same page. You got a drop down. You can pick which one you like.
Yeah, if you don't want to be seen, you need to wear that camo one.
And I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll take everybody that's watching, put a comment, put a question below in the comment section, and we'll take our favorite 2 comments next week and send those 2 people one of our new hats.
Feeling gracious, ain't you?
So, comment on the show. Tell us what you thought about the show. Ask a question, and we'll pick one of those people and send them a new hat.
You said 2.
We'll pick 2 people, that's right, and send them each a hat. So we're going to give away 2 hats. How
2
about
hats,
that?
Yep.
All right. Now, let's get into this subject of occultation.
You know I have trouble with big words, and I've been practicing this one because I wanted to get it right.
Yeah.
Occultation.
Occultation.
Occultation?
Occultation.
Occultation.
There's an
Anyway,
L in there.
what does that mean?
So occultation, in a broad sense, means you're blocking something from the sun. Okay?
It means a procedure.
Or you're blocking something from view, put it that way.
It's used a lot in, what's that word they talk about up in, when you study the stars and stuff?
Astronomy.
Astronomy. It's used a lot in that frame of talking because when we have one of those eclipses and the moon blocks out the sun, that's what occultation.
Right.
But it can also be used for what we're talking about today, is when you block that sunlight from the ground.
Right. So you're putting something between the soil and the sun to block the soil from the sun.
Now, when we first started looking into this, I was really confused because I thought, in my simple way of thinking, that these black tarps is going to heat up the soil. It's not the case. The clear tarps is the ones that heat up the soil.
Because it's like the greenhouse effect.
The greenhouse effect, so you call it solarization. The black tarps, although they get hot, they don't heat up the soil.
So you're not quite, with the solarization or the clear tarps, that technique is useful if you want to just sterilize your soil. If you've got nematode problems, or if you've got some fungal problems or bacteria problems in your soil, the clear tarp, that solarization works good.
And the flip side of that is it's going to pretty much kill your microbes.
Yeah, it's going to burn it up.
Everything up. Okay.
Which in some cases, some people have to resort to that.
Yeah, but the solarization doesn't necessarily kill the microbes.
With the occultation.
Occultation.
Yeah. So the occultation with the black tarp, it's not really heating it up too much. Now it's going to get a little hot in there because that black's going to get hot, but it's maintaining moisture in there. And the main point of this occultation, besides to reduce tillage and preserve your
integrity of the soil.
Right, that too. But the main purpose is you create this moist environment and all the weed seeds in there are going to germinate because it's moist. But as soon as they germinate, there's no light for them to feed off of. So it's a good way to create what we call a stale weed seed bed or a weed seed bank.
Somebody that's limited on the equipment that they have, this is a perfect way to establish a new garden spot.
It is, it is.
So if you've got an area that you want to start, put this tarp down, leave it for 3 to 4 weeks in the summertime, maybe up to 6 weeks in the wintertime. You can pull it back, you can go to planting in it.
Mm-hmm. Or you can, you leave it there for longer than that. Just depends. If I was going to use it to make a new garden spot, what I would do is I would take my mower and I would go out there and I would pretty much scalp it. I'd cut it as low as I could cut it and then put that tarp on it. And depending on what time of year it is, you could expect to have some nice bare ground. And I would say a month to 2 months.
If you got a garden spot like my garden has been in existence for a long time now, and my weed pressure is probably higher than, I know it's higher than yours, as a lot of people's, because I have gardened it for so long. You can use these tarps to reduce your existing seed bank, weed bank.
Right.
So if you got a lot of weeds, you can use it to help suppress it and get it back under control when you're not necessarily, you don't have it in production. You can put one of these out there, wait 3 to 4 weeks, pull it off, plant, and I'm doing a test on that right now, and that'll help a lot with your weed pressure.
That's right. So if your weeds just have gotten out of control on you, give your garden a rest for.
Now the key there is like you said a while ago, your organic matter, whether it be corn stalks, pea vines, whatever, you need to chew them up as much with a lawnmower, whatever, you need to chew them up as much as you can and lay them on the soil there before you cover it up.
Yeah, the closer you get the tarp to the ground, the more effective it's going to be there.
Yep.
Talking about the weed pressure and starting a new garden spot, another thing is, I see this all the time around here and it just breaks my heart. Fella's got him a nice pretty spring garden out there and then he's done harvesting everything and he just lets it grow up. Mm-hmm. And don't touch it, and then come next February he'll be out there with the tractor or the tiller and he'll be fighting that weed battle over and over again.
And his insect pressure too.
What you need to do instead of that, incorporate some cover cropping in there so you're not just growing weeds, but also, just tarp the area. Just tarp it and leave that tarp on it.
I hate to put it this way, but it's a lazy man's fix. As somebody
it is, but it's quite effective.
On one of our groups, it's a lazy man's fix. It really is.
It's quite effective though, because then you come February, just pull it off and you're ready to go.
And it doesn't require any expensive equipment. Don't require any gas or oil or anything like that.
And one tarp's going to last you a while.
One tarp's going to last for a while. Another thing too is we talked about it maintains the integrity of the soil. Now we have preached, and I've been guilty of this, where we overwork the soil and we messed up the tilth of our soil. Well, this tarping system really helps to keep you from overworking your soil and maintaining that tilth. So when you put that tarp over there and you pull it back, well, you can go ahead and plant. You ain't got to go in there and till it. You ain't got to plow it or nothing.
That's right. That's right. And then, so we talked about making a new garden, getting rid of the weed seeds. And the third way, which we shot a video on this that will air next week. We just shot a video of my sun hemp. Had a nice big plot of sun hemp, and we're using the tarp to kind of what I call extinguish the cover crop. So we took the flail mower. You have to watch the video to see it all. But anyway, we cut down the cover crop and then put the tarp on it. And so instead of tilling the cover crop in, we're going to let that tarp do the work and kind of break all that stuff down. Let the natural biology there kind of do its work.
One thing that I noticed the other day when I pulled my tarp back was the crickets underneath my tarp. My old dog got drove him crazy. I was amazed at the not bacteria, but the insect activity. And I'm sure the bacteria was still at work too. So the microbes in the soil was really working well with that tarp over the top. The moisture was there, and it was dark, so it was perfect environment for your earthworms and your beneficial bacteria and your other insects.
Just going to create a more healthy food web in the soil there. So we talked about those three main uses for it, which will apply, in my opinion, to everybody.
Yep.
Everybody's either making a new garden spot, they either got too many weeds, or they're trying to get rid of the cover crop and work it in. That's everybody that's gardening right there. That kind of covers that gamut.
Yep.
We talked about some of the benefits of it. I'll jump through those real quick. It doesn't require any gas or fuel or any, expensive equipment or tillers. It's going to preserve your soil structure. It's also going to preserve your moisture in there and your organic matter in your soil. And it's also going to promote that earthworm and bacterial activity. So, really good stuff there with the tarps. The tarps we have are 40 by 50, and we don't have one right here because they're bigger than what frame we're in.
And you may say to yourself, well, I don't need a 40 by 50 because my spot's only 20 by 30. Here's the fix to that. You just double it up. Fold it up, and we put 15 sandbags in there. You fill your sandbags up with sand, place them around to keep the wind from blowing it away and keep it from dancing off with you. Just fold it back to whatever size you need.
Maybe you got two 20 by 20 plots. Just cut it in half, and you got two of them. Excuse me. The reason we went with 40 by 50 is that's practically the biggest size we can ship under normal UPS ground parameters. So when we get these things in, they come on these massive rolls. One person can't even hardly pick them up. And we take them and we cut them to a length that we can ship them so you can receive them normal UPS ground. The one thing we do that nobody else out there does is we put sandbags in there. We give you 15 sandbags. It's going to help you hold these things down. You can use whatever you got laying around the house, but these sandbags work really well.
Yep.
So nice added value there. All right. So go on the website, you look under garden tools, you'll see Silage Tarp there. You can check that out and get you one of those. Let's get into some questions from last week's show. And if we answer your question on the show, send us an email to cussserve@hosstools.com and we'll send you a nice little prize. So our first question here comes from old Kip Boswell. And he says his garden has done great this year following our advice and using our seeds, drip tape, and high arch wheel hoe. But he's made some mistakes such as row spacing and too much fertilizer on his beans. Done that too. What did y'all learn this year, or what won't you do again?
Well, I made a good garden this year. It was a good dry year and made a good garden, had plenty of everything. The one thing I would not do again, I can't grow southern peas. I grew me 2 rows of southern peas and I did a great job growing them. But good fruit set on, have peas everywhere, and we picked one picking off of them. I cannot control that southern pea curio. To save my life, I can't control it.
I can't either.
So I'm gonna give up on growing southern peas. And if I had to do it again, I would plant me some delicata or kabochi squash in that area because I do love those delicata winter squash. But that's the only thing that I can see that I would have done different. I had a great garden, decent amounts of everything I planted. We had a bounty for harvest. Everything's good. I just can't grow peas.
I can't grow what we call field peas.
Southern peas, I can't grow. I wish I could because I love to eat them.
I can spray them almost every day and I still can't grow them. They get stung up.
So our next question comes from Leslie Bacon. And she says, I haven't planted squash in 3 years due to squash bugs. I am thinking about waiting to plant some in August, hoping to avoid the bug. I'm in zone 7B. Will I have a better chance, or are they still in full force through the fall?
Well, Leslie, got some bad news for you. We're in 8B, you're in 7B. And I don't know, I'm going to assume this is pretty much the same across the board, but our squash bug pressure is probably highest towards the end of August and September. That's the one time of year I don't even try to grow squash or any kind of cucumber. That's when you can't do nothing with them. The one thing you can do is make sure you don't have any cucurbits in the garden, so they're not there just multiplying and putting eggs in the soil. Now, I have grown squash and stuff, and I've got some gold prizers still producing. I've got these cucumbers that are still producing, and these things will kick along through the end of July. But once we get into August, I can't do anything with them squash bugs, and most people can't. So when you plant squash, I always tell people that have issues with squash bugs and usually we find the error is they don't plant them early enough. So plant them squash and cucurbits early as you can, and you can get you 2 crops out of them most of the time before your squash bugs get
Sometimes
bad. Sometimes 3. So plant them just as early as you can, and then get you another round in come for us around May or June or so, and then just don't even try to fight them in August and September.
Eat canned squash in August, September.
Eat okra.
Yeah.
Eat okra and figs, and muscadines will be getting ready soon. So don't try to fight them when you can't do nothing about them. Don't try to win a battle you can't win. Right. All right. So hope y'all enjoyed the show tonight. Too. Don't forget to comment, put some questions there to win you a free hat next week. Hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll see you guys next time.